to promote your agenda. You cited the need for ethical concerns and the need for a bright line between the press and the government. Your administration continues to make the use of video news releases, which are prepackaged news stories sent to television stations, fully aware that some or many of these stations will air them without any disclaimer that they are produced by the government. Comptroller General of the United States this week said that raises ethical questions. Does it raise ethical questions about the use of government money to produce stories about the government that wind up being aired with no disclosure that they were produced by the government?
There is a Justice Department opinion that says these pieces are within the law so long as they're based upon facts, not advocacy.
Lisa Haven here. What you just saw was a White House press briefing during former President Bush's administration, where a journalist confronts him head-on about a truth that many of you are already well aware of. Pre-packaged news deals put together by the U.S. government and the various departments from the CIA to the FBI to the executive branch all put these packages together and give them to the mainstream media and feed them these stories. And in the end, no disclaimer is necessary. How is that for truth? How is that for a reality of what's truly going on in society when they're fed the stories? And this is why there is such an attack on alternative media such as my channels, because we bring these things to light. But what really is the agenda here? What are they really after? Is it just submission of the masses, or is there something else at hand? Well, before I get into the story, I want to give a quick shout out to NobleGoldInvestments.com. Without them, I wouldn't be on air, but they are an amazing company, and you can convert your 401k into a solid Roth IRA backed by gold, silver, precious metals, or even cryptos. Check them out in the description box below and let them know you heard it on Lisa Haven. But they are amazing, and you can also buy gold and silver straight out as well. All right, so back to the broadcast. What I want to do now is talk about the real agenda behind it all. What's truly going on? Well, to get that for you, I'm going to take you back to a clip with Walter Cronkite. You know, according to an opinion poll in his time, he was the most trusted man in America. And he was a CBS News anchor. Take a listen to what he says about, well, the New World Order.
I'm in a position to speak my mind, and by God, I'm going to do it. First, we Americans are going to have to yield up some of our sovereignty. That's going to be, to many, a bitter pill. Today, we must develop federal structures on a global level. To deal with world problems, we need a system of enforceable world law, a democratic federal world government.
An entire agenda devoted to the New World Order. He basically, in that clip, attacks nationalism by pushing globalism and saying we need some kind of global order. But it doesn't stop there. This is something that we, quote unquote, conspiracy theorists have talked about for many years. And yes, the United Nations is playing a big part of that. Take a listen to Dick Morris and John Hannity in a clip from 2009.
And those people who have been yelling, oh, the UN's going to take over global
conspiracy
theorists. They've been crazy, but now they're right.
Yeah, well, when
it's happening.
When Geithner said he would be open to the idea of a global currency last week, those conspiracy people had said and suggested that for years. Right. You're not wrong. You're not wrong.
And you know,
we were right. We've been right for a very long time. And you guys know it, and we knew it. That is why there is such an attack on alternative media such as my channels, because what you saw in the beginning of this video, the mainstream media, isn't admitting the truth of stories. They're being hand-fed stories by the various departments, by the CIA, by the FBI, and even now by organizations like the United Nations, by China, by other countries, foreign countries. That's who's feeding the mainstream media. And that's why there's an attack on channels like mine and others, because we are telling the truth about what's really happening in society. And we're not going to hold it back. And we're not being hand-fed. That's the beauty of it. But you know, anyone who comes after their globalist order is under attack. like President Trump, for example. We finally get a president in office who can stand his ground and make America great again, and truly is doing everything he can to make America great again. And they attack him for it, like a brood of vipers, going after and in for the kill. Not only him, but anyone who is a nationalist, patriot, or Christian for that matter, because we don't stand with the global order. And we shouldn't. For reasons of trade, yes, but not the takeover of this international body like they are pushing. But anyone who stands in opposition to that gets attacked. Take a listen to what Joe Biden had to say about Trump and his supporters.
Despite losing in the courts and in the court of public opinion, these forces of intolerance remain determined to undermine and roll back the progress you all have made. This time, they, not you, have an ally in the White House. This time, they have an ally. They're a small percentage of the American people, virulent people. Some of them the dregs of society.
So we're the dredge of society, the very scum of society. That's what Joe Biden had to say about everyone who voted in President Trump. Why? Because you're nationalist. It has nothing to do with race or freedom of race, because the Democratic Party is a very racist party at heart. They care not for that. All they really care about is getting the votes they need and standing for globalism, because they're international socialists. It's socialism, globalism versus nationalist. That is really what is at play here. And anyone who stands in opposition, they attack. But you want to know who the enemies are? Well, you know. Nationalists, patriots, and Christians. And I'm going to take you back to a clip of Walter Cronkite. Here's what he has to say about who the enemy of the New World Order is. Take a listen.
Their leader, Pat Robertson, has written in a book a few years ago that we should have a world government, but only when the Messiah arrives. He wrote, and literally, any attempt to achieve world order before that time must be the work of the devil. Well, join me. I'm glad to sit here at the right hand of Satan.
Pat Robertson, for those of you who don't know who he is a televised Christian pastor over at Christian Broadcasting Network. That's who he is. And Walter Cronkite attacks the very core of Christianity. Who doesn't want a new world order? So not only is it those who stand for their country, the nationalists and patriots and populists, but it's also the Christian culture at the very core. And as he says, he gladly sits next to Satan. Horrible words, in my opinion. Anyhow, I'd love to get your thoughts, comments, and concerns in the description box below, and I'd love to check all those out and read them. Anyhow, thanks again for tuning in. I'm Lisa Haven, signing out.